busy seeing hand signals here. This is me talking to my director at the moment. This side, that side, this side, that side. Anyway, that's what happens here behind the scenes, but you're getting to see the life behind the scenes of Morning Live. Okay. Our next guest, such an awesome man. And I do forgive you for thinking he's Father Christmas, because I had to do a double take too, but he's not. You're going to know exactly who I'm talking to. Kingsley Holgate. He's with us this morning. The Kingsley Holgate expedition team, Africa's adventurers and philanthropists, recently returned from their 33rd geographic and humanitarian expedition. They went on an 8-country, 18,000-kilometer journey in the Extreme East expedition. They went to some of the least visited regions on the Horn of Africa, which is currently suffering one of the worst droughts and famines in living memory. To speak about his recent trip, we have got the one and only Kingsley Holgate in our Durban studio. Kingsley, what an honor, what a pleasure to have you on Morning Live.
Likewise, Leanne, thank you for having me on Good Morning Live.
Listen to me nicely. Did anybody mistake you for Father Christmas?
Yes, it's a good time of the year for me. Kids all giving little smiles and waves, hoping for the best for the 25th.
I think you got to swap the khaki for red, and then you never know what'll happen. You get hugs from lots of strange people. Listen, let's get to the business of the day, Kingsley. I mean, this is incredible. This is your 33rd geographic and humanitarian expedition that you've embarked in. How was it?
It was wonderful, Leanne. It was a culmination of so many things. I feel very privileged, obviously, to have been born under African skies and to have had a life of such great humanitarian adventures that have taken us to every single country in the African continent, to include all of her island states. And in so doing all of these great journeys, we've also been able to touch on the key geographic points of Mama Africa, namely, of course, the southernmost point, Cape Agulhas, the most westerly point in Senegal, the northerly point in Tunisia. We've obviously all done Kilimanjaro over the years, been to the lowest point, Lake Assal, in Djibouti. More recently to the center of the geographic center, the sort of heart of Africa, deep in the rainforests of Congo. But there's been the most easterly point that's been eluding us. We've talked about it for years around campfires, and now came the opportunity to take our Land Rovers from here, from KZN, and drive zigzagging, doing humanitarian work all the way through Africa to finally reach the Horn of Africa, dropping down from the ancient walled city of Harar in Ethiopia across the self-proclaimed Republic of Somaliland, and then, of course, the difficulties in crossing Somalia, and that's what we've just got back from. It was really tough.
Yeah. When you talk about the difficulties, I mean, what kind of challenges did you face?
Well, Somalia, as we all know, is one of the most dangerous places to visit in the world. We obviously had a facilitator working on our behalf, and we had a window of opportunity. So from Somaliland, we had to cross no man's territory, some disputed land between Somaliland and the area of Somalia, the northern part known as Puntland. So that meant 25 tough soldiers with AK-47s, 2 light machine guns, and going under the radar, so to speak, in an incredible dash that took us through broken desert country. It was an amazing journey, and of course what made it special was that from our own most easterly point in South Africa, near Cozy Bay, we carried a scroll of peace and goodwill and a calabash of seawater from the Indian Ocean, which we then, in this race with all the security, we made to the very easternmost tip, the extreme easterly point of the African continent. It's a place called Ras Hafun, and it's absolutely beautiful. Even the people from the nearby village of Hafun hadn't been out there. Nobody lives out there. Our expectation had been palm trees and some beach, but after sort of boulder hopping in the land, is really tough country, and of course the constant fear of ambush. You didn't want to be taken by kidnappers and held to ransom. I don't think they'd get much for me. But yes, finally to get to this place called Ras Hafun. There was an old Italian-built lighthouse there, dating back to the time of Italian occupation of Somalia. all broken down, and 200-meter cliff dropping down into the Gulf of Aden, the Indian Ocean, in that part of the world. Just so beautiful. We hurriedly built a little cairn of stones, what you'd call an isivivan in Zulu, spat on a stone to propitiate the spirits, placed on the little isivivan, and attached to the wall of this old lighthouse building a sign of peace and goodwill, of course, which that part of Africa desperately needs, and written in Somali and English. And then, of course, the dash to get out of there, all the humanitarian work, being armed and watched all the time, and finally out through Somaliland, and another mission accomplished, which meant to us, the culmination is that we've now been able to do all 7 extreme easterly points of Africa.
Which
so
is
it's
such
a good
an
feeling to be
achievement.
safe.
What an achievement. It really is. And I mean, it's the fact that the humanitarian work is incorporated into it is amazing. And I know that for the Kingsley Holgate expedition team, you have a tagline that says, hope crosses any terrain. Obviously, you went through very difficult terrain in terms of, just getting there. But it's also, I imagine, the politics and the things that you came across, the difficulties that you came across when that tagline is formed. But perhaps you can give us a better explanation.
Yes, it's all about hope. There's so many stories of doom and gloom, and we know it from living in this beautiful country. And I think what gets us through, in fact, I know what gets us through, is this constant belief that in Africa you have some hope. Where else would you rather live? The diversity of cultures and color and wildlife and wilderness. There is no other place quite like it. So this sort of hope that drives us forward, always believing in the positive, always searching for the positive. And yes, indeed, we're proud on our Land Rovers to have this byline of hope crosses any terrain. And I think coupled to that is the good feeling of being able to save and improve lives as we go. Something we take for granted, Leanne, going to a pharmacy, buying a pair of readers, of spectacles. Yeah. But out there in these remote areas, how you can improve the quality of someone's life with a simple pair of readers. Likewise, helping mums, pregnant mums mostly, with children under the age of 5. They're the most vulnerable to the blood-sucking bite of the Anopheles mosquito, and being able to do something for malaria. And that's something, I've had malaria more than 56 times, they tell me, or 56 times, should I say. And so, yes, it's something that we took upon ourselves to do something about. Finding hope in helping people. And then, of course, the water purification. So many people die from bad water. So it makes it into a great adventure. I sit with the team sometimes. I said, is all this humanitarian work worthwhile? They said, it's the very heart of it. Yeah, this hope that crosses any terrain, and being able to do good on these journeys adds to the whole geographic challenge. So it's great
Unbelievable. Fun. Kingsley, what a pleasure speaking to you. I could listen to you all day, and I'm sure so could the visitors. And I'm looking at Valen out the corner of my eye as well, who's hanging on to every word that you say, one of our best storytellers and adventurers that we have, a real treasure to South Africa. Kingsley Holgate, thank you so much for talking to us here on South Africa, on South Africa, on Morning Live. Thank you.
It was good being with you. Thank you so much, and have a great festive season.
And you as well. And you as well. All right, there you go. Kingsley Holgate. Valen, isn't it amazing? I mean, just the stories that come from him. I mean, he is probably one of the best storytellers. You listen to Kingsley Holgate tell a story, and what stories he has to tell, having travelled to, I think, every corner of the continent and helped. And that's what's so amazing, isn't it?
Certainly, Leanne. And what's most amazing is just the way that he shares his story and he shares his viewpoints. It's so real that you sit there and only afterwards you realize, I'm so motivated, I'm so inspired. It is the kind of motivation that we really needed on this Thursday morning.
I have to tell you.
One thing for sure.
You nailed that one. We needed some good news story on a day like this. All right.